The secret message of Yeshua the Nazarene. In the early church, there was a period of time which closely followed the celebration of the Holy Paschal, or as Easter as it may be known, which is called the period of Mystagogy. The word Mystagogy comes from the Greek word Mystagogos, which literally means the leader of the initiate into the mystical or secret doctrines. So Mystagogy is the preparation of the initiate for the teaching. Before the unfortunate development of the institutional church, this was a period of time in which those who wished to enter into the mystical relationship with Christ as a disciple of the way was instructed in what is a revolutionary surrender to the life of compassion, service, healing, and forgiveness that the early Jesus movement was all about. So for those who are part of the community known as the Zen Kondo community, the way of boundless compassion, the post-denominational spiritual movement based on the teachings of the Christ and the Buddha, the period of Mystagogy is an ongoing process, which begins the moment that one commits themselves to seek the truth in their own hearts, in their own lives. It's a period of time in which we reveal the secret and revolutionary message of the Christ to the newly professed. And it's a time when those newly professed men and women who've just entered upon the path are encouraged to savor the rich experience of their baptism and confirmation and to reflect more deeply on the impact that that step has had in their lives. Finally, it is a period in which they're encouraged to discern the particular way or ways in which the indwelling divine is calling them to serve all of humanity. For some time now, we've been focused on this theme of discipleship and how discipleship really amounts to discovering the secret message that exists at the core of every parable, every miracle, every story of the passion and the death and the resurrection of Rav Yeshua, Jesus. For the first apostles, that period of Mystagogy culminated in the event that we celebrate as the Feast of Pentecost, the day on which they received the fullness of grace to feel the empowerment to continue the mission of their teacher. And as some might suggest, the moment of their personal epiphany, when they finally got it, when they finally understood the secret message that Christ had been teaching them all along. So why was this a secret? Well, perhaps because the message was so simple and yet so completely revolutionary. Perhaps because the message was about a new kingdom that Christ revealed to them, the sovereign reign of the divine that was within them, in which the oppression of the Caesar, of the machinations, the political institution, and their religion could not take away from them. You know, there have been those who have been called heretics, who've been scandalized by the suggestion that one of the most important, progressive, and responsible actions we can take as a living church, if we truly want to reveal the healing and transformative power of Christ's message, is to liberate ourselves from the superstitious bondage to the book that we call the Bible. But I'll stand before you to say that I stand with those who have been called heretics. I stand with those who say that if we truly want to reveal the healing and transformative power of Christ's message, we must liberate ourselves from the superstitious bondage and literal interpretation of the book known as the Bible. And I'm here to tell you that is my solemn conviction, that beyond that we need to liberate ourselves from religion in general. If we, like the apostles who gathered in that upper room according to the Mythos, want to discover the secret message of Christ, we need to put aside those preconceived notions, those misunderstandings, superstitions, and mistranslations, the prejudices that arose out of the culture and context of that ancient collection of mythos. We can look to the Bible as an arbitrary collection of stories, reflections, letters, and texts which convey a sense of heritage, not history, and enable us to catch a glimpse of the process of discipleship in the lives of some of the early followers. It wasn't written by a mythical personal God. It wasn't intended to be viewed as divine word. And while there are those who may have been inspired by a love for their divine self, it was not dictated by her or divinely inspired as the superstition goes. We must begin to understand, if we're going to be true followers of Christ's Dharma and not merely disciples of an institutional church or religion that followed later, that Jesus had no intention of starting a religion. He did not commission his disciples to start a church, despite what some of the ill-informed people have told you. And his sacrifice of love was a sacrifice offered for all of creation, not only for those who profess to be his disciples. The real secret message of Jesus doesn't require a Bible to be shared. We experience the real message of Christ every time we partake in the Eucharistic celebration, when he reconsecrates us to the divine love, just as he did at that Last Supper, when he invokes the divine protection, the blessing and the grace from within us upon us as our high priest. In John chapter 17, 11 through 19, we read, "And lifting up his eyes toward the divine, Yeshua prayed, saying, O Holy One, keep them in your name that you have given to me, so that they may be one, just as we are one." What we hear in that passage is referred to as the priestly prayer of Christ, and it comes at the conclusion of the great discourse of the Last Supper. Unfortunately, we don't often hear that as part of the celebration of the Last Supper, and it's a powerful and awesome prayer when you really stop to consider it. Jesus considers the divine blessing and the protection upon his followers as a matter of importance. He invokes that blessing and consecrates them to the holy name of the divine, which is truth. He essentially ensures that they are going to be sent out to continue the work, accompanied by his Spirit, which is divine love, so that they might actually become his presence in the world. And so that's our mission, to become the presence of the Christ in the world. The story of Jesus is one in which the divine love became incarnate, so that, as St. Athanasius writes, God became man so that man could become God. Now Christ ensures that we would continue the mission of fleshing out the divinity that we possess, so that the intangible God could become tangible for those that we touch. And so I want to reflect on what it is that Jesus must have said, as I imagine it, to his apostles, to his disciples, and what he would have said to those who devoted themselves to living according to the way today. And so I'd like to share with you the words of what I propose could just as easily take the place of the Bible as we know it, as maybe we may call it another testimony of Jesus Christ, if you would, a gospel of simplicity, which is my gift to you on this resurrection celebration today. I imagine Jesus would say, "Beloved friends, I want to share this secret with you. God, the divine, is love, not some magical dude in the sky. Heaven is in your heart. Yes, God's kingdom is within you. The way to fullness of life is simple. Love with all your being. Love all living beings. Love one another. Love yourself. Embrace your diversity and your divinity. Serve those who need you. Forgive those who hurt you. I love you guys. I really do. Think of me when you break bread, and I'll be there.